Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. Your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see here on our channel, our website, or our social media. It's in the description below. Reach out directly to tmosso@thewatchbox.com. Today, my hands are shaking because I'm suspending 300 grams of solid gold Dream Project G-Shock. This is the 35-piece limited edition anniversary Casio G-Shock Dream Project, technically known as the G-D5000-9JR. This is a watch that was originally launched, at least in concept, at Baselworld 2015. It was supposed to be ready for the 35th anniversary of the G-Shock in 2018, but the 35 pieces were distributed in 2019. The watch is extraordinary, the first and only ever solid gold G-Shock. The 35 pieces made, again, weigh 300 grams, but feature all the functionality of a standard G-Shock watch, including water and shock resistance. The size is also identical to the standard watches, such as the full metal. The watch, by my calipers, is 43.2 millimeters from side to side, so that's effectively the diameter. It's only 13.1 millimeters thick, which is thinner than I expected for a watch like this. And then two ways to measure it. If you measure it truly lug to lug, then it is 49.5 millimeters, but as you can see, the bracelet doesn't pull straight down. There's a little bit of virtual flare, so the actual rigid distance across the wrist as I measure it is 58.8 millimeters, which is to say you really need to see it on a wrist to get a sense of how it fits and how big it is. Now on my wrist, 16 centimeters in circumference, I can tell you, because of the shape of the watch and because the lugs start to curve even before they end, it does fit better on a small wrist than I expected. It is low and it will slide underneath the cuff, so if you don't necessarily want the watch to be front and center all day long, it will fit underneath a dress shirt. The timepiece is very hefty, and I find that to be an absolute delight. You have no doubt where the money went. I'll also mention that with this watch weighing 300 grams, if you just break out the commodity cost of the gold, this watch winds up costing more to make as a percentage of its retail price of $70,000 than your average Swiss luxury mechanical watch, which in some cases, such as for example Omega, may cost less than 10% of the retail price. If you add up the cost of gold for this watch, you're already over $20,000. This thing is incredible, and I can recommend it for a wrist as small as, I would say, 15 centimeters circumference. Now, let's take a look at the hardware, which I have to say embarrasses quite a few Swiss high horology houses. Let's start with the basics. The link design is highly industrial. It wants to look like a machine. It's not trying to look like jewelry. It's trying to look like something you would see in a factory setting, and it succeeds. This is an integrated bracelet sports watch. That's very cool these days, but I have to say the integration of bracelet here predates the modern fad for that style. G-Shock was there before. You could see that the bracelet is held to the case using screws and bars. No spring bars here. That's the best way to build a heavy and expensive watch. You could see that unlike Patek or Audemars Piguet, every single link can be removed to size properly, and that on both sides of the bracelet, like a Vacheron Overseas. There are also half links built in, and I should also mention that if you look on the underside, you can see that there are just enough gaps to vent the wrist and avoid pinching skin or pulling hair. Remember, Patek Philippe bracelets are built with pins and sleeves. This uses screws, and it's a G-Shock. The interior of the clasp is immaculate, still fitted with its original factory packaging. You can see that there is still factory plastic on the exterior of the clasp. All of the polished surfaces are manually black polished. This is an entirely handcrafted case, and you can see it is exquisitely crafted with satin topped lugs and polished flanks. The case itself is all of polish, and you can see it has that rugged industrial design characteristic of this generation of G-Shock watch. Now we'll talk a little bit about some of the standard styling cues, starting with the brick motif seen on the very first G-Shock back in 1983. And this is a love letter to G-Shock's hardest of hardcore fans. There is a lot to love. Let's talk about the basic resistances. The watch is still 200 meters water resistant, just as a standard G-Shock would be. It is still capable of falling out the third-story window of a building, presumably landing on the grass, because I can't imagine any watch surviving a hit to the pavement. But that was the main reason why this watch was not distributed for the 35th anniversary, but waited an additional year to distribute. It was the work on making the watch as shock resistant as the standard plastic model. Now you can see this watch is made in Japan. That is by no means universal in modern G-Shock watches. Many of them are made in lower wage countries. So to have the watch built in the nation of origin is particularly distinguished. 1 out of 35, no one gets the bad luck number, and it is the Dream Project. While the watch has a reference, technically this is the Dream Project, and that is what everyone will call it online. Now, about its functionality, it has no functions that a standard G-Shock of this generation would not have, which means it still has an absolute ton of features you would never expect in a luxury watch. Let's run down all of the different features. You can see right here, there is a stopwatch function, and it is a split-second chronograph. Cycling through, you can see there is a countdown alarm. Note that the time is displayed at the same time the countdown time, which is reprogrammable, is displayed. The watch features a perpetual calendar that is programmed through the year 2100, and you can see today's date and day. If you continue, you can see the watch has a world time function. It displays the current city of reference. It can store up to 39 cities. Continuing through, the watch has not 1, but 4 alarms, and you can see which one of the alarms is currently selected. Finally, there's our countdown timer. The watch also includes a dual time function. Not dual time zones, it's got 39 of those, but the ability to display in 12-hour or 24-hour format. Now the watch also has solar powered charging, which means that it can charge itself up via sun or even ambient light in your office. When fully charged, it can last without any light for up to 22 months in standby mode, which is an extraordinary record of endurance for a watch that is effectively self-powering. Now there's more going on here because the watch also has a fearsome backlight that I'm going to demonstrate properly in a moment with the lights off, but I should also mention that you can program it to light for 2 seconds or 4 seconds. And about programming all these features, this watch is Bluetooth enabled and it will interface with your digital device. So you can use that for setting the time zones, the alarms, the countdown, all of that, including the backlight timer. Every single one of those features can be accessed through your phone, so you don't have to learn how to navigate all of these submenus. There is an awful lot to like about this watch. I know I'm probably forgetting something. Of course, I'm forgetting the phone locator. A little bit like echolocation, there's a feature whereby this watch can cause your phone to emit a tone that allows you to find your lost device around your house or apartment. All of which is to say, this thing is absolutely chock-a-block with cool features and functions that you would ordinarily never find inside a luxury watch. And because it is quartz at heart, it has accuracy of plus or minus 15 seconds per month. This truly is a dream. If you think this is irrational, remember that just by materials alone, there's more money put into the manufacture of this watch as a percentage of its retail than you're going to find from most high horology brands like Vacheron and AP on their mainstream models. All of which is to say, imagine this as an exquisitely handcrafted piece of Japanese jewelry, a bracelet for a dude, immaculately satinated, black polished, and made with love. It just happens to have a timepiece attached and be historically important for fans of Casio G-Shock. This is a bracelet for life. Chances are, if you ever needed new electronics, they would just pop in a new module. And given the terms of engagement for this watch, that's totally cool. This timepiece is all about the case, the bracelet, and the clasp, something that will never happen again. If you want the only one on the block, the town, the state, and probably, in most cases, your country, this is for you. Email tmosso@thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details. And we're back by night with the Casio G-Shock Dream Project. I joke about replacing the module if it ever needs service 10 years down the line, but let's get real. My G-Shock from 1998 is still using its original computer module. You can program the light to light for 2 seconds as you see here, or 4 seconds if you prefer.